Once upon a time, there was a young man named Olamide, a boy born into a family filled with love, joy, and wealth. Olamide's father was a successful businessman, and his mother, a graceful woman, made sure their home was warm and welcoming. Olamide was the apple of their eyes, and everything seemed perfect in his world. One rainy evening, Olamide's world was shattered when his parents were involved in a terrible car accident. The news hit him like thunder, leaving his heart heavy and broken. Everything he knew, everything he loved, was taken away in an instant. As the days passed, the true test of life began. His uncle, the only family he had left, came forward, but not with love and support. Instead, he saw the wealth Olamide's parents had left behind, and greed overtook him. He tried to seize everything, leaving Olamide with nothing but painful memories. Olamide tried to fight back, but his uncle was powerful, connected, and determined to strip him of everything his parents had worked for. Days turned into weeks, and Olamide found himself standing in courtrooms, battling for his family's home and legacy. The pressure was too much for him to handle. From a life of luxury and love, he was suddenly facing loneliness and poverty. As Olamide stood before the large gates of his family home, the same home that was once filled with laughter and joy, he felt like a stranger in his own life. The house was no longer his. His uncle had won the battle, taking everything and leaving Olamide with nothing but memories. Homeless, penniless, and heartbroken, he wandered the streets, wondering what his next step would be. But in the midst of his sorrow, he had no idea that life had more twists waiting for him. Olamide's story was far from over. As he wandered the streets, he felt like giving up, but deep inside, there was a small voice telling him to keep going. Little did he know, fate was about to lead him to a woman who would change everything. A woman whose love for him would shake the very foundation of her own family. But for now, Olamide had to survive, with no family to lean on and no home to return to. As Olamide wandered the streets, lost and rejected, he met Damilola, a beautiful young woman from an average family. Unlike others, who saw Olamide as an evil child caused by the tragedy of his parents' death, Damilola saw him for who he truly was, a kind-hearted man who had been wronged by life. Damilola's mother, however, had other plans for her daughter. She used her connections to introduce Damilola to several wealthy men, hoping to marry her off to one of them. But Damilola rejected them all, choosing instead to stand by Olamide, a man who had lost everything but his dignity. Her love for him was pure and unwavering, and she was ready to fight for him, no matter what her mother or the community thought. Damilola's mother was furious. She couldn't understand why her daughter, who had the attention of so many wealthy suitors, would choose a man who had lost everything. But Damilola's love for Olamide was unshakable. She believed in him, even though the community whispered about him being cursed or evil, thanks to his uncle's lies. Olamide, who had once been confident and proud, now struggled with self-doubt, but Damilola's presence gave him strength. However, The pressure from Damilola's family continued to grow. Her mother warned her that she was throwing her life away for a man who had nothing to offer. And even Olamide, seeing the strain it was putting on her, began to wonder if he should walk away from the only person who truly cared for him. As Damilola's love for Olamide grew stronger, so did the opposition. Her mother, friends and even the community tried to pull her away, but she stood firm. However, Olamide wasn't sure how long he could let her fight for him. He knew that her family could offer her a life of comfort and stability, something he could no longer provide. One night, as they sat together under the stars, Olamide told Damilola, "Maybe it's better if you move on. I don't want to drag you into my troubles." But Damilola, with tears in her eyes, held his hand tighter. "I'm not going anywhere, Olamide. We will face this together." Just when Damilola's mother thought she had found the perfect solution to her daughter's problem, the minister's offer came in like a dream. He promised her a massive government contract, one that would elevate their family's status beyond everything they had ever imagined. There was just one condition: Damilola had to marry the minister's son. The deal was too good to pass up, and without hesitation her mother agreed, convinced that she could persuade Damilola to leave Olamide behind. With the contract at stake, her mother poured all her efforts into convincing Damilola. She painted a picture of wealth, luxury, and a comfortable life with the minister's son, promising her everything Olamide could not provide. But Damilola, determined and in love, rejected the offer, standing firm by Olamide's side. Her mother, devastated and enraged by the rejection, saw the contract slip through her fingers. The shame of losing such an opportunity burned inside her. Furious, she took her anger out on Damilola, blaming her for everything. In a fit of rage, she burnt all of Damilola's certificates, including her professional license. She cursed the day Damilola was born and disowned her, leaving her daughter helpless, homeless, and stripped of her future. Little did Damilola know that her mother's hatred for Olamide had been carefully fueled by Olamide's uncle. His venomous lies about Olamide being cursed and evil had poisoned her mother's mind. The uncle, lurking in the shadows, wanted to see Olamide suffer, and Damilola's mother played right into his hands. She blamed Olamide for every misfortune and believed the worst about him, turning her back on her own daughter in the process. As Damilola left her home, lost and broken, Olamide too faced his struggles. His uncle's manipulation had not only destroyed his family's reputation, but now extended to ruining Damilola's life. As Damilola and Olamide's world crumbled around them, both of them were left with nothing: no family, no support, and no future. Their love for each other was the only thing keeping them afloat. But with Olamide's uncle still working in the background to destroy them, the future looked bleak. Could their love survive the storm that had been unleashed upon them? Or would the lies, betrayal, and manipulation finally tear them apart? Only time would tell if they had the strength to overcome the obstacles that stood between them and happiness. As life continued to batter Olamide and Damilola, their situation grew worse. With no home to call their own and no support from family, the couples were forced to sell small goods by the roadside just to survive. They lived in an uncompleted building on the outskirts of town, with only the bare minimum to get by. Their once hopeful future was now clouded by poverty and struggle. Every day, Damilola faced constant mockery from her friends, especially Funmi, who never missed a chance to ridicule her. Funmi would often drive by, looking down at Damilola with pity and scorn, reminding her of the life she could have had if she had just accepted the minister's son. But Damilola stood by Olamide, her love for him unwavering, even as Funmi kept advising her to leave Olamide and find a better life. Funmi's words were harsh and piercing. "Why are you suffering like this, Damilola? Look at you, selling things on the roadside, living in an uncompleted building. If you had just listened to your mother, you would be married to a rich man by now. Leave this Olamide, he is only bringing you down." But Damilola, though hurt, still held on. She believed that love was worth fighting for, even when the whole world seemed to be against them. Olamide too was aware of the pressure Damilola faced. He could see the burden of their hardship weighing on her, especially with Funmi's constant taunting. But despite everything, Damilola never wavered in her love for him. She refused to let go, even when her mother's words still echoed in her mind, cursing her for standing by Olamide. But the shadows of doubt began to creep in. How long could Damilola hold on? And what would it take for her to finally break under the weight of the life they were living? Olamide knew he had to do something, but with no resources and his uncle still working against him, what could he do to change their fates? As the days passed, the hardships began to take a toll on Damilola's health. The poor environment they lived in and the constant suffering weakened her body. One fateful day, Damilola fell severely ill from typhoid, a disease that spread quickly in such unhygienic conditions. Olamide was desperate, watching the woman he loved slip away, but there was nothing he could do. He barely had enough money for food, let alone the medical treatment so she desperately needed. With no other options, Olamide began begging on the roadside, pleading with strangers for money to help save Damilola's life. He stood there, hands outstretched, with tears in his eyes, but no matter how much he gathered, it was never enough for proper treatment. His heart broke with every passing day as he watched her condition worsen. Desperate and running out of time, Olamide swallowed his pride and went to Damilola's mother to beg for help. He fell to his knees, pleading with her, hoping that despite everything, a mother would want to save her child. But Damilola's mother, filled with rage and bitterness, chased him away, even pouring water on him as she screamed, "You killed my daughter with your bad luck. Leave my house or I will have you arrested." Olamide, broken and hopeless, returned to Damilola, knowing there was nothing more he could do. Days later, Damilola passed away in his arms, leaving him shattered and consumed by guilt and sorrow. But the pain didn't end there. Damilola's mother, blinded by grief and anger, accused Olamide of killing her daughter. She called the police, claiming that Olamide had poisoned her with his evil ways. He was arrested and thrown into jail, left to face the crushing weight of accusations that weren't true. His world had crumbled completely, and it seemed there was no hope. However, just when things seemed most hopeless, a man Olamide had once helped during his own struggles came to his aid. This man knew about Olamide's suffering and how hard he had tried to care for Damilola. He spoke out on Olamide's behalf, revealing the truth to the authorities. With his help, Olamide was eventually released, but his heart remained heavy with grief and loss. Olamide's heartache was unbearable. The love of his life, Damilola, was gone, and the weight of her death crushed him. Her mother's accusation and the time spent in jail only deepened his pain. Though he was now free, Olamide was left with nothing: no home, no family, no love. But in his lowest moments, the friend who helped him get out of jail reminded him that he still had life and the strength to fight for the truth. Olamide knew deep down that Damilola's death wasn't just a result of illness and hardship. There were darker forces at play: his uncle's manipulation, Damilola's mother's bitterness, and all the people who worked to tear them apart. Now, Olamide is determined to rise from the ashes of his sorrow. He would uncover the truth behind Damilola's death and expose the lies that had destroyed their lives. But the road ahead was dangerous, and Olamide knew that facing the powerful enemies had just ruined him would require more than just determination. Unknown to many, Damilola's mother had been living a double life, hiding a dark secret that Olamide's uncle held over her. Years ago, Damilola's mother had taken in her last-born child, but the child wasn't truly hers. She had been covering up an affair she had with a colleague of her husband, and to avoid disgrace, she had pinned the child on her unsuspecting husband. Olamide's uncle knew this secret and had been using it to blackmail her, forcing her into an affair with him. The uncle's motive was clear from the start: he harbored deep jealousy and hatred for Olamide and his family, fearing that Olamide would one day challenge him for his wealth and status. He had conspired against Olamide's parents, ensuring their death in a tragic car accident orchestrated by a mechanic named Tolu, who had tampered with the brakes of their car. With the death of Olamide's parents, the uncle thought he had secured his position of power, but Olamide's resilience made him a constant threat. While all this was happening, Damilola's father, unaware of his wife's deceit and the betrayal surrounding him, had been away on a peacekeeping mission in Sudan. He was a soldier, dedicated to his duty and far removed from the chaos brewing at home. When he finally returned, hearing of Damilola's death devastated him. The pain of losing his beloved daughter crushed him, and he broke down in grief. Damilola's mother, desperate to hide the truth, immediately began whitewashing the story, lying to her husband about what had happened. She painted Olamide as the villain, the cause of their daughter's death. But Damilola's father wasn't convinced. There was something about his wife's story that didn't sit right with him. Determined to uncover the truth, he hired a detective to investigate what had really happened. During the investigation, the detective met with Olamide, who narrated the tragic series of events leading up to Damilola's death. As the detective dug deeper, he uncovered a horrifying truth. Olamide's uncle had been behind the death of his parents. The mechanic, Tolu, who had tampered with the car, was found and apprehended. Under pressure, Tolu confessed everything, revealing how Olamide's uncle had paid him to ensure the accident happened. But that wasn't all. Fearing he would go down alone, Olamide's uncle, in a last-ditch effort to save himself, confessed the full extent of his manipulation. He revealed his affair with Damilola's mother and how he had been blackmailing her for years, controlling her actions and ruining Olamide's life at every turn. He admitted to orchestrating the series of events that led to Damilola's death, hoping to break Olamide's spirit forever. The community was shocked when the truth came to light. The betrayal, the deceit, and the web of lies spun by Olamide's uncle and Damilola's mother disgusted everyone. The village elders, who had once turned their backs on Olamide, now rallied behind him, calling for justice. Damilola's father, heartbroken and enraged by his wife's betrayal, had her and Olamide's uncle arrested. They were both sentenced to prison for their crimes, shamed and banished from the community. With the truth out in the open, Olamide was finally able to reclaim everything that had been taken away from him. His parents' honor was restored, and the community that once shunned him now embraced him. Though Olamide had regained his life, he still carried the heavy burden of loss. He wished every day that Damilola was still alive, so they could have lived the life they dreamed of together. Despite the pain, Damilola's father, who now saw Olamide in a new light, took him under his wing, accepting him as his own son. He guided Olamide with wisdom and advice, helping him navigate the challenges of life. Together, they found solace in each other, bounded by their shared love for Damilola and the memories of the woman who had brought them together. Olamide's journey, filled with unimaginable hardship and loss, had come full circle. He had lost the love of his life, but in the process he gained a father figure and reclaimed his life from the hands of those who sought to destroy him. The story of Olamide and Damilola is a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the strength it takes to overcome betrayal, loss, and the darkest forces that seek to tear us down. Though Damilola was no longer with him, her memory lived on in Olamide's heart, guiding him as he continued forward. And with the support of Damilola's father, Olamide knew that, despite the pain, there was still hope for a better future. Thank you so much for watching this emotional and powerful story. If you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed creating it for you, please don't forget to subscribe to Tales by Foxy for more engaging tales like this. Also, comment below and let me know what you think of the story. I would love to hear your thoughts. Remember to like the video if it touched your heart and share it with your loved ones, because everyone deserves to learn the valuable lessons in these stories. Thank you for your support and stay tuned for more.